And there we go. We're live. We're back. Welcome to the lads. It's Tottenham. I keep nearly saying the cheese room, but faux pas. It's lads. It's Tottenham. I'm joined by two lovely guests this evening. First of all, coming to you, Jack. How are you again? You okay there from all the way in the States?
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here in North Carolina. Bright sunny skies on a Friday afternoon. It's about 25 Celsius, no wind, not a cloud. It's a lovely, lovely day to talk Spurs.
I wish I could say the same here. It is blowing like a hurricane over here. And there's a gazebo. I'm playing stress test the gazebo. Seeing how long it lasts in the wind. It's a game I play every summer with the British summer. But there we go. Adam, you're currently muted, so you might want to unmute yourself. But Adam, welcome to the Lads It's Tottenham podcast. It's great to have you on.
No, cheers for having me on. It's my inaugural appearance, and I hope I get the opportunity to come back. I love watching you guys, so I appreciate you having me on to chat Spurs at this up and down kind of moment where people don't really know how to feel. I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, it's always good to talk Spurs. I say it's always good to talk Spurs. The guy who I was stood next to at Leicester the other night I thought he was going to burst a blood vessel, if I'm honest, when we were when we let the first goal in at Leicester, the equaliser. He was going absolutely mental at life, really, at life. Welcome to you all in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from tonight. If you're joining us from Everton, welcome. If you're joining us from London, welcome. And wherever you are in the world, I see Mr. David Harris all the way from the land down under is in the chat. Kerry's in the chat. Welcome to you guys. Big shout out to the channel members. We are going to be refreshing that soon with new branding, new emojis, and various goodies for you. So thank you for taking those channel memberships, and do stick with them. It'll be worth it, I promise. We have got lots to talk to. We've got a 5-minute snippet from an Everton podcast to come on. We've got the team news fresh from Ang Postecoglou. I think I've got some Everton fans to shout out. So shout out to Neil, who kicks me around the football pitch on a Tuesday night. Nathan, who I work with. It's a pleasure to have you watching the show tonight. And hi, Andy. First time watching. I do like your little profile picture, Tottenham till they kill me, with Ang Postecoglou in what can only be termed as the bent over position, a bit like we felt like we were being at Leicester. Deepest, darkest Essex. Hello. Do give us a follow on Lads It's Tottenham at It's Tottenham. We are on the Twitter, or X before Elon Musk ruined it. It was formerly known as Twitter. We would love for you to join the conversation over there. Let's talk team then. So obviously, this was the lineup against Leicester. Adam, did it float your boat? Obviously, we've got a couple of injuries since then, but didn't quite work, did it?
I think that as far as, we came with a draw that very much felt like a loss. And it was because we should have clearly put away more of our chances at the other end. And then the mistake that was made mistakes that were made by Udogie and Romero cost us a goal that ended up leveling them up. And I think it's the first game of the season, shaking some cobwebs off, a little bit of rust. You don't really expect it from Romero, considering he had an amazing Copa America. You would think that he would be in fighting form. Obviously not the case. Didn't have his head together, and Vardy was able to come in at the far post. So, from that perspective, I'm just hoping that they've learned from it, and then we're not going to see anything like that again. Conversely, up front, obviously we're missing our chances, and again, maybe Solanke was just a little bit intimidated by the occasion. Potentially, maybe he thought that it's been a while now since he's been with a top club, and maybe the occasion was a little bit much for him. Should have buried at least one of those headers. But the more concerning thing, his football was fantastic, and I know we're not going to see him tomorrow, but his football was fantastic aside from that finishing touch. And the more worrying thing for me is just getting the balls into him. I realized that Heung-min Son was the one who gave the key pass to Maddison in order for him to put the cross in for the header from Pedro Porro, but I just find the Son in this system doesn't work for me, and I know that's probably going to be is a counter-attacking player. We don't play counter-attack. We are camped in the opponent's half of the pitch for the majority of the game. So Son is not able to do what he does best. He's not the kind of player that can beat him. So I don't think that we're going to see the best of Son in the under Ang Postecoglou. I think that he as much as we hated watching Mourinho ball and Conte ball, that those systems suited him much better, and that's why we were seeing the best version of him then. So wingers is where I'm a little bit concerned, to be honest with you, and I hope we do get to see Odegaard tomorrow, because he's the only player that we've brought in so far that looks like he can take a man on. So that I'm excited to see him.
Odegaard, yeah, we'll see where he fits into it. Absolutely. Jack, shall we talk about the defensive mistake first? So this was frustrating. So we, to put it into context, I was there. I was in the stadium. Obviously, it was a great first half. We were all over them. We were dominant, and the guys were talking around me, and I agreed with them. That Leicester is still in this. No matter how dominant we are, if we haven't put the ball in the Indian bag a couple of times, we're in trouble. And then we go and do this. Leicester were, not really in the game. We afforded Vardy the freedom of the King Power Stadium. What was Romero, a World Cup winning centre-back, doing at this moment?
Well, to be charitable, you would say Sarr is not goal side of his man, and he's stepping up to play a man who is, if the ball floats over or is crossed low through the six, he is in a position to attack that ball and get it in. So he's playing the attacker who's in the most dangerous position, and that's being charitable. The other one is for him to not be aware of his surroundings, and he and Porro, the gap between them is enormous. And we let an old man find a nice patch of grass to settle down on. And then, to his credit, I'm not going to pronounce his name correctly, but he sends a nice ball in right to the head, and it's a free header, easy, that almost any one of us could bury if we were in that same position.
It just had to be Vardy, though, didn't it? He's an annoying little oik at the best of times, and he was giving it absolutely loads to Spurs fans. And the Spurs fans were giving it back, mainly about his wife, it has to be said. But it just, and he should have got a second. He should have.
It was a good save from Vicario.
It was a good save, but it was an attacking error. He hit it straight at him, didn't he? Really, and obviously he made the save, Vicario, but he should have buried it. Twice we switched off at the back. That could have been a 2-1 defeat. And it's ridiculous because we absolutely dominated that game for 80% of it. What changes do you want to see, Adam, to the starting 11? Now, obviously, we've got the team news. Solanke's got an injury. Of course he has. I mean, that only happens to Spurs, doesn't he? Record signing one game and he's injured. And Bentancur's out because of the nasty knock he got on the head. So it's a concussion protocol injury. So he's not going to play. So those are the enforced changes. What would you do differently? I guess you're going to tell me you play Richarlison up top, which is fairly logical. And you probably play Bissouma coming back maybe in the 6th. But what would you do?
I would definitely want to see Odegaard play. I know he's unlikely to start, considering that he's his first time out. He's probably going to just, and as such a young player, he's only going to be given a few minutes. But I would love to see him because as I said, I want to see players who are able to beat their man on the wings, and they're the players that are most essential in an Ang Postecoglou system. So I would definitely like to see him at some point. Yes, I'm certain, obviously, that Richarlison's going to be playing in the number 9. I'm happy with that. I get a lot of flack for how much I praise Richarlison. I think he's a great player. I think that there are some weaknesses that Solanke doesn't have. So like his footwork, his first touch. So Solanke is an improvement where that's concerned, but we can't forget that the amount of goals Richarlison was scoring last season before he got his injury. And I think that if he's fully fit and firing now, he loves a goal against Everton. Like he scored a screamer against Everton last season. He knows how to unlock the door. So I think that we're in good hands, especially when we consider, again, if the crosses are coming in, like Richarlison would have buried those headers that Solanke missed last week. I really, really believe that. So he's unbelievable with his head. Now I know that, towards the end of the game, he missed a header of his own, but it wasn't quite the sitter that the Solanke ones were. I mean, like, there's no way that Richarlison wasn't putting those away directly in front of goal. He wouldn't have put it straight into the keeper's hands. So I'm happy with Richarlison coming in. What do we do with the number 6? I don't know about Bissouma. I'm completely torn with Bissouma, because I do think that the behavior that he's being reprimanded for does require a specific sort of treatment where you can't. I don't think just because he wouldn't have been playing today or tomorrow if Bentancur was fit and firing, right? He just wouldn't be, but it would be Bentancur. So do we bring him in and kind of give him a free pass on his behavior and bad, certainly incredibly bad, what would you say? He's certainly not showing young people out there anything to kind of model themselves on. So it's really bad in that sense. So it's just bringing him in now when he wouldn't have been brought in otherwise, just because we're down a player. I mean, there's logic to it. There's certainly logic to it from a footballing point of view, but just from a setting an example point of view, I don't know. So would I bring in Bissouma? I don't know. It's a really tough call morally. Should we be showing a little bit more kind of sternness in terms of being?
What would you do, Adam? What would you do?
Because it's Everton, and I don't mean to be demeaning, but because it's Everton, we tend to walk these games, and I would like to see Archie Gray given an opportunity to show what he can do. I mean, we saw that he bossed Chelsea last season. He is capable of stepping up in the Premier League against Premier League caliber teams. Everton are not Chelsea at the end of the day, and I think that if we play Archie Gray now that there's an opportunity. Bentancur is unavailable. Bissouma maybe still needs to be given a little bit of time on the sidelines. And so is this the opportunity for Archie Gray to come in and show what he's able to do in that number 6 position? Because we know that's what he's been brought in to do. He's been brought in to play in the number 6, possible backup to the right wing back position. So I think that for me, I'd be excited to see Archie being told, look, this is your moment. This is your time to cement your place. Go out and do it.
Well, what do you think, Jack? What would you do? Changes to the starting 11?
So, I too am not someone who digs Richarlison out. I understand his limitations, but I think he gets an unfair amount of heat. So normally I would be fine with him coming in as the number 9. That is where he plays. He and Solanke should get most of the games, assuming their fitness can hold up at least somewhat. At that position, although he's played almost no minutes competitively for quite a while. So my question, and given how well that Kulusevski played as a false 9, I'm wondering whether or not that's the way you get him into the side, because Everton is not going to be playing expansive, high-pressing football. They're going to sit in their half. They're going to clog the middles up, and you're going to need some tight passing combinations. You're going to need some ability to find the spaces. And while, again, the competition was certainly less to some extent during preseason, Kulusevski shows you can operate in the box. You can operate in combinations with other players, freeing them up for scoring opportunities. So this might be an opportunity to put him in there to get him some time in the center of the pitch, which is where he should play, whether it's as an 8-10 or a false 9. He should be more central. He's not a good winger in this system. I am concerned about the wing play, as Adam, you were saying. You're right about Son, and if he were 3 or 4 years younger, it might be better, but he has lost a step. His ability to beat people and get down the line and cross it back is less than it was. I mean, that's just the reality, I think, of the matter. And I'm also worried about Brendan Johnson starting because, again, if you're a counterattacking side and you're going to sit deep in a low mid block and then you're going to spring counterattacks, then Son and Brendan Johnson are very good because you need space, their speed, they can cross the ball across the box. that's a very good system. And when we do break the press quickly, when we do get someone we can draw the team onto us, and we do break and we move at speed at the back line, that is when Brennan actually looks like he's useful. But in a team that's going to sit deep, missing 2 or 3 of their best or their preferred back 4, they're not going to give a lot of space. You're going to have to take people on. And I really feel like, I'm not sure if that's Richarlison's best system to be playing in, and plus he hasn't played a lot of minutes, so I'm on the fence of whether or not he should start or whether they should give Kulusevski.
He's going to be up again. He's going to be up for it though, isn't he, Jay? He's old.
Yeah, he was. It is Everton, so I mean that's
like Madison last week. Madison,
yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Madison had a great game, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So I expect Richie to start. And maybe you put Kulusevski in on the right, taking Brennan to the bench because he's going to be more effective in those tight spaces. He can at least try to take a man on, even if he's somewhat predictable in his movements. But it might be still better than Brennan on the right. Son will start on the left, no question. In terms of 6, I mean, Archie Gray, I believe in firmly. I did watch that Chelsea game. I've rewatched the highlights of that Chelsea game when he really was the man of the match. So I know he has the ability. Whether you throw him in here and see if he can live up to the moment, I just don't know. I expect Basuma and Richarlison to start, but that's not necessarily what I would do.
Lots of you watching already. Hit the like button if you like what you're watching. It costs you nothing, takes a second, helps us out loads. So please do smash that like button. And if you're the first time watching, then hit the subscribe as well. There's absolutely nothing to lose. It costs nothing at all, and you get live notifications if you set it for every time we're live. So please do subscribe. For me, I struggle a little bit with starting Archie Gray purely from an experience perspective and a youth perspective. And I don't. Everton are obviously they're pretty miserable at the moment, and in terms of their availability of play, which we'll come on to, they've got a lot of issues. But I think we probably need to put Basuma back in there and let him redeem himself a little bit. I think you're right about Son. I mean, Son for me is the one that it's the ugly truth that no one's talking about this really, because it's Son and he's a club legend and what he's done, and he's the captain. I think Ange has made a rod for his own back making him captain, if I'm honest. I think he's a weak captain. I don't think he displays the right kind of leadership on the pitch. I'd much rather it was Romero, Bentancur, even flipping Madison. Those guys actually, have got more presence. I think Son's presence is lacking, but I think he's made a rod for his own back because he didn't sub Son at Leicester. Son was awful. That second half was about the worst 45 I've ever seen him play in a Spurs shirt. And there's got to be some threat of his position, regardless of whether he's the captain or not, as to whether he's played, because it was like he'd never played football before. He couldn't trap a bag of cement. He was terrible. So I do think there is a big issue on that left-hand side, and with the captaincy, if I'm being really honest. And I think Ange needs to, this is where true leadership is taking bold decisions and making the decisions that are in the interest of the team. But honestly, I'd be dropping Sonny at the first opportunity. I think Johnson is the other problem because we've stuck 50 million on him, and I think he plays like he's being weighed down by a price tag. He's got no confidence. It was absolutely peak level Brennan Johnson, where he flew back, tackled one of the attacking players beautifully, then ran up and tripped over the ball against Leicester, and that was about as good as it got. He had a miserable game despite that dominance and press from Spurs. He brings energy, but that's about it. I'd like to see Odegaard just to give him a go, if I'm honest, just to see something different. But our issue is with the wide players, and that's Son and Johnson currently. So I think we've got to mix it up a bit and see what's different. I can't believe, by the way, that this has happened. So, Franco from Cheese Room says, guy stays fit for the entirety of last season and last one game at Spurs. Because you got to say, we do have some pretty poor luck, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not get frustrated with how difficult it is to shake off this Spursy moniker, because Spursy is just, it's synonymous with this kind of thing, and we just have absolutely no. Just when we feel like that there are strides being made in certain areas, and we're starting to look like a different outfit, and we're past the point of we're getting the structural side of things in order and whatnot to be able to go on and do things on the football pitch. On the football pitch, we think we're ready to go, and then this kind of stuff happens, and it's like, are we ever going to get a break? Are we? There's not a one of us that doesn't feel like we're just consistently being. It's like we're trying to build a castle on quicksand, and it's, what else can you say about it? We're the only thing that you can't say, I suppose, is that we are fortunate that it's not as though we're not, as we've just been talking about, the number 9 is not a problem area. It really isn't, because you can play Richarlison there now. You can play Kulusevski there if Richarlison was out. We're not. It's not the 9s that we're struggling in, and it's the wing areas that we're struggling in. So from that point of view, it could be worse, but we don't want to go knocking on those doors either, waiting for something to happen in those areas.
No, well, I mean, it's kind of feeding into the transfer window. We're going to have a little chat about that in a minute. First up, we've got a little video. We did ask an Everton fan to come on the show. He unfortunately couldn't make it, but he did send us a very good monologue, which I'll play you now. So, stay tuned. We'll be back at the end of this. But here is Adam.
Hello there. Looking ahead to Tottenham against Everton on Saturday. And as you might imagine, considering the results that we had on the first day of the season at home to Brighton, a 3-0 defeat and a man sent off, the optimism, I say cautious optimism, that was around Everton ahead of the start of this season has definitely dropped off a little bit, I would say. It was a bit of a sobering result. Tottenham away, not a happy hunting ground for us. I think I read that we've only won one game in our last 16 away games at Tottenham. I know we've grabbed a few draws over the years, but not too many. We've had some pretty heavy defeats. The 5-0 the other season comes to mind. Last season, I actually think Tottenham away, just before Christmas, was one of our best performances of the season. We were very unlucky not to get anything from that game. I think we hit the bar late on. We had one cleared off the line as well. We played very well. But generally, I would look at Tottenham away as a fixture that we're going to struggle to get much out of. In terms of the team and the lineup, I can't see Sean Dyche making too many changes from the team that began against Brighton, largely because that's kind of the manager Sean Dyche is. He's pretty cautious. He likes to stick with the same players, even if a lot of the fan base are calling for changes. There's going to be one definite change, and that is there'll be no Ashley Young. And we've got a bit of a crisis when it comes to right back, because Young is suspended, Seamus Coleman is injured, no idea what's happening with Nathan Patterson. And that's about it, really. We've got a youth player called Roman Dixon who was pretty impressive in pre-season, but I can't see Dyche risking a youngster like that in the Premier League. So my guess is that he'll start Mason Holgate at right back, which is a disaster waiting to happen. So if you're watching this, Ange, definitely attack down the left, because there's a weak link there already. I doubt he'll do 5 at the back, but you never know. He could surprise us. So I definitely think that it would be Pickford in goal. It would be Mykolenko left back, Holgate right back, and then you're looking at the centre halves. He went with James Tarkowski and Michael Keane against Brighton, and that was a bit of an issue for a lot of fans because, quite frankly, we're a bit fed up with Michael Keane, really. You know what you're going to get at this stage, although ironically, he didn't play too bad against Brighton. We have a new promising centre-half that we bought in the summer called Jake O'Brien. A lot of people calling for him to start, so it'll be interesting to see what Dyche goes with Braithwaite still injured. And then I am actually predicting that he's going to go for the same team, which would be Garner Gay and Irabunen in the middle. Tim Irabunen, one of our pre-season signings, looked a bit to be like a PSR signing, but has actually played very well so far. And then Decore will have Jack Harrison, Dwight McNeil, and then Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. I'm sort of wondering what changes Dyche would actually make. I know there's been a clamour for Ndie, for example, who we signed in the summer. but I can't see him making any radical changes, really. That's just the sort of manager Sean Dyche is. In terms of the game plan, I think we will try to counter-attack. I think we'll try and soak up pressure and hit you on the break. It has worked under Dyche. We have had some decent away results in the time that he's been in charge. It's not the prettiest football by any stretch of the imagination. We played quite attacking, actually, last time we went to Spurs, but I can't really see that. I think the aim of the game at the moment is not to concede and then to see what we can nick from a counter-attack, a long ball over the top. We're always dangerous from set pieces, so that's something, we'll look to try and pick up free kicks and corners and do well from them. But I don't see us making any kind of huge attacking threat. I think it's going to be a case of trying to soak up pressure. The problem we've got at the moment is if we concede the first goal, we're not scoring enough to really be able to get back into games or win games when we concede goals. And there's definitely a feeling, and I feel like this is seeped into the players, that if we concede the first goal, that's kind of it. It's kind of game over, which is obviously quite depressing as a fan. Somebody reminded me of a crazy stat about the number of games at Goodison now where we've not won, or how many games we've won at Goodison where we haven't conceded a goal. Basically, it's basically we're only winning when we don't concede a goal is the stat. I've butchered that, but that's the stat. I haven't got it to hand, and it was quite remarkable, really. It shows that if we concede a goal, it's very, very difficult for us to win. So I think the aim of the game will be to try and hold on for as long as we can and try and nick something. I don't think we'll be successful, and I see just one of those performances where we sort of tamely lose 2-0. I'm going to go for. I feel like we've seen it quite a lot. I think the confidence will have been knocked by the weekend. I think there's probably not much expectation from many fans that we're going to get much out of this game. We've got Bournemouth at home afterwards, and maybe that's one that everyone will be looking for. We've got a cup game at home against Doncaster, and then Bournemouth at home, and maybe that's where people will think, okay, they're the games that we can kind of kickstart things a little bit and get a bit of a spark going. So depressingly, yeah, I'm going to go for 2-0 Tottenham. I didn't watch you against Leicester, but I'm sure you were disappointed with that result. I know we had a very good game at Goodison last season, the 2-2 draw. But I think just at the moment with Everton and how they're playing, I struggled to see us getting a result. So unfortunately, I'm going to go for 2-0 to Tottenham. But enjoy the game. And as an Everton fan, you never know. Maybe we can nick something. Here's hoping.
Well, there we go. The voice of optimism. And I guess that, you guys are all hoping for pretty similar.
I would be shocked if we have a clean sheet, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, all they really need to do is lob the ball in the box a few times and watch Vicario flap at it and scratch something in, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, it's Everton though. I feel, I was a little bit uneasy, kind of going in too cocky, but I think I don't know that they have enough in them in terms of strike power. I mean, obviously Adam said himself, like they don't really have too many goals in them at all. So, okay, Dr. Tottenham could definitely come to the rescue, but it really does depend on us, because if we're able to put them out of sight, then okay, if there is a little bit of a fumble at the back for us and we give away one, surely, and we could have said this against Leicester too, in fairness, but surely we should be able to put enough away against them that it's gonna it's going to keep us with the 3 points. But it depends on what he decides to do at the back. Is he going to park the bus? If I were Dyche, considering that you're coming up against Tottenham, very, very difficult to get a victory against us historically, he should literally just park the bus and try and get a 0-0, maybe on the counter attack get something. But they've lost 3-0 against a good Brighton team. There's no reason why that we can't go and it's on our turf, right? So I mean, there's absolutely no reason that we shouldn't be walking away with the 3 points in this game. To be honest, I'm not incredibly worried, and especially when you're hearing what Adam has to say there in terms of the issues they have, the lack of confidence they have. I'm not. This is a game that Tottenham have no right to lose. And if anything, it's this is not the game. I've heard people saying that Tottenham have to win this because of the Leicester game, and I'm like, no. The Leicester game means that we have to go out and beat someone like a Chelsea, not Everton. We should be beating Everton anyway.
Well, that's the team last time out. Anyone you're particularly worried about, Jack?
I actually rate Jack Harrison. I think he's a good player. And, you know, Calvin Lewin's a little bit like I don't rate him at all. I mean, his talent is there. He's just never fit. But he is like Vardy. If you give him some space, if you're not going to mark him and let him sit on the 6 and lob a ball over there, he will put it in the net. So this is one of these games where that there's no upside for Tottenham or Tottenham fans. I'm not looking forward to watching it because if we win 3 or 4-0, that proves nothing to me because Everton's shocking and depleted with injuries. If we do anything other than win 3 or 4-0, I will have to turn off my phone. I will have to go into a cave because I will not be able to handle what the eruption of you know what's going on. I mean, we're going to get people wanting to sack the manager if we don't get a win by at least 2 or 3 goals. So this is just not one of those games that has a lot of upside or a lot of fun involved for me. In fact, I play this game is 3:00 there, so that's a 10:00 start for me, and I have a football game at 12. I'm going to probably record it and then maybe watch it. I don't know.
When you say football, is that football or soccer, Jack?
Yes, that would be soccer. I have a soccer match at 12:00 Eastern on the United States.
No, I'm glad you said football. Giving it the
you don't want to see a 54-year-old man out there playing American football. That would be a bad. And I can tell you, the Mrs. Hoyle would not approve. I've had 3 knee surgeries in the last 12 years. I'm not getting out and playing American football. I can assure you that.
I'm just glad that you're still going in your 50s. That gives us hope for us all.
That's right.
My friend Neil is here in the chat, who I play with on a Tuesday night. I normally blast down him on the wing. There you go. Tim has been very good preseason, probably the best player for everything that's Brighton. So there you go. We shall see what happens. What do you think the score will be then, gents? So Jack, I'll stick with you first. What's he doing here? He gone rogue. What's that, Jack? He can't hear me. What's that, Jack? What are you doing?
Well, it's Dave. Dave was giving me a little. He asked me when I found out I was a center back. He said, "Are you more Christian Romero or Vicky Van de Ven?" I said, "I'm more Craig Dawson." And this is a signed photo from Craig Dawson. That
Craig Dawson. It's not Craig Dawson.
Michael Dawson. Sorry. More Michael Dawson. And, sorry.
He's American, guys. He's American.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sorry. And this is my signed photo that Seb sent me for winning, I think, the Patreon Cheese Room's first ever prediction league. So
there you go. What a prize.
That's right.
Get involved. Adam, your predicted score.
Score predictions. I'm going to be, again, I want to be optimistic because if we can't come away with an absolute smashing of Everton, then I don't know. I have no idea what to expect for the rest of the season. I'm going to give it a hopeful 3-0. I hope that we can unlock the door. I hope that there's not enough talent in their first 11 to be able to hold us back. Again, they may park the bus. It's entirely possible, but at the same time, we should be able to get one over on these guys. So I am going to go with 3-0.
3-0, blimey, that's bold. That relies on us scoring 3 goals. Jack, I think you missed a bit where I said, what do you think the score will be?
Yeah, I don't know how this match doesn't set up with 14 senior players that are fit and most of their best defenders out of the lineup. I don't know how this finishes any other than 1-1. I don't know. I can't emotionally prepare for them winning this. I could have to emotionally prepare for this being another repeat of last week. Intellectually, I am with Adam. I think that, as much as we run Son down, as much as we run Johnson down, as much as we complain about midfield play and center backs going on walkabout, we should win this game. I still don't think we can keep a clean sheet because I think a free kick will get loose in the box and they'll nail it in. So you get a 3-1 out of it maybe. But I just don't know how I can't emotionally prepare any other way than expecting a draw.
I mean, if we draw the game, I'll be disappointed, as I always am. But I did predict we'd beat Leicester 3-1. I didn't realise our attack would be quite so toothless. Dave is clearly trolling there with that prediction. Let us know what your prediction is in the chat. You know, there's 60-something of you watching right now. I want to see 60-something predictions in there, including from the Everton fans in the chat. I think it'll be a 2-1 win. I might even put a little bet on that. So many to blast through. King Hoddle 2-1, Kerry King 3-1. Dave Harris is saying 5-0, slightly trolling. Matt is saying 1-1. Big shout out to Gibbo. Ali saying 4-1. Andy saying 5-0. Sweep the floor with them. Maybe 5-1. We never know. 2-1 King Hoddle. So we shall see what happens. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I'll be working. But I think it's going to be a tighter game than people give it credit for. Everton are going to park that bus. They are going to stick 11 men behind the ball. They are going to lob balls into the box, and we are going to be very vulnerable from set pieces. So it could be a bit of a squeaky bum game.
Well, one thing I have going to Everton, we do tend to score against Everton.
Oh.
There's no Premier League team that we scored more goals against, both total and at home. And Everton hasn't won a road game in the Premier League in August in over 3 years. So there's a little bit of history behind this.
Yeah, but Kane didn't score in August for many years. You know, those records are there to be beaten, aren't they?
They are. They absolutely are.
Let's not think that we're going to walk it, because I thought we were going to walk Leicester, and we did walk Leicester for 45 minutes, but couldn't put the ball in the net.
Here's one, caller. I like this.
Lads, it's Everton. Yeah, I know. And look, we should be winning this match. 11 versus 11. We have got better players than Everton, right? But if we can't, we'll dominate the play. But if we can't put the ball in the net, we're not going to win. Resident Everton fan, Richo is here. Hello, good to have you back. Richo, let us know your score prediction as well, please. Neil's saying 3-1 Spurs. Neil, I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow night for a game of poker, which would be great. Hopefully, I'll be able to rub your face in it. Let's talk transfer window. Ang Postecoglou this week was asked about the transfer window. This is what he said. With a week to go, mate, there's still a little bit to do. I think that's possibly the understatement of the century, isn't it? Now, I know you've been selecting some. I know you've been saving up some comments for this, Jack, and people love to talk transfers on these shows. So let's look at the ins and outs so far. So in Solanke, obviously 60 million club record. Werner on loan, £170,000 a week, by the way. Archie Gray, 40 million. Odebear, 25 million and a 5 million add-on. Bergval, 8.5. And Min Hoik, 3.3. Hope I've said that right. Don't want to offend all our Korean viewers. But, yeah. Interesting business. Let's talk about the outs. Skippy, Højbjerg, Royal, Roden, Parrott, Ndembele, Sessegnon, Tanganga, then the loans, Hill, Valise, Scarlett, Donnelly, Phillips, and then a load of youth team players have gone as well. Look, I suppose the question is, for both of you, out of 10, how would you rate this window for incomings so far? And let us know your view in the chat, by the way. And as King Hoddle rightly points out, we spent 140 million in the window. 140 million. Adam, we're going to come to you first. Out of 10, how would you rate this window for incomings?
Every single season, I find it very difficult to judge this, because it's like, what are the criteria? What are you basing it on? Do we need to have covered every single position? Do we need to make sure that we have somebody in for, to make sure that the squad is deep in every single position that we have? Are we comparing it to the rumors of different players coming in and then being underwhelmed? I hate getting caught in that trap of being told we're going to get Pedro Neto, we're going to get Eberecheze, we're going to get Rafinha, and these things never come to fruition. You get somebody else, and they could be, they could be potential world beaters, but people wanted the big name. And so, like, do we compare it against the rumors of the signings versus what we actually got? So all these, and there's so many other things that I could mention, but when talking about criteria, so for me, it's crazy difficult. What I will say is that I think in Yang, who we're not going to see until January, and in Odegaard, we may have our solutions to the wing problem. And that's the biggest concern that I have. As I've said, honestly, I love Heung-min Son. He's my favorite player currently playing the game, but he does not suit at the Ange ball. And I'm excited at the way Ange ball looks. I want to give him the opportunity. I want to give him another 4 years minimum to be able to do what he wants to do with this team and to be out there winning trophies and get us on a roll. So I'm not going to choose keeping Sonny in the team and bringing in a new manager over keeping Ange. So it really bothers me to say that we need someone to replace Sonny, but I think Yang might be the one. Yang is able to beat a man. We saw that during preseason. You see it even better in his highlights reel. He can beat a man. Odegaard can beat a man, and then hopefully they will be the solutions to the wide problems. Solanke, he is the perfect Ange number 9. He is going to score a lot of goals for us this season. I have no doubt about it, despite not being prolific in front of goal against Leicester. And I'm really excited. I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been singing Lucas Bergval's praises long before he came to Tottenham. I knew about the guy before we were linked with him, and he's one of the top. I think that I saw a YouTube video that put me onto him for the first time around. He was in the top 10 wonder kids when he was 16 years of age or something like this. And I just thought, wow, that guy looks absolutely unbelievable at that age. Like, he's just phenomenal. And when we signed him, I was super excited. So for me, I'm way more thrilled than most people with bringing in these youth players, Bergval and Gray. So I'm not really probably going to give the answer that everybody is going to want to hear, because for me, I'm excited about the players that we brought in. I'm excited about the future, and I'm not going to knock the transfers if this is what Ange wants and this is what he thinks is going to get us to the next level, then so be it. I still think that we need. A lot of people have been poo-pooing the notion that we're going after a reserve goalkeeper. I don't know why. We absolutely desperately need a reserve goalkeeper. If something happens to Vicario at all, we've got Fraser Foster who's injured, and Brandon Austin who's just not anywhere near on the same level. We absolutely do need another keeper to come in. We also need a defender who can play left centre back and left wing back or inverted left back. So I mean, we haven't covered all the positions yet, but I'm just saying that we're not done with the business. So transfer window so far, and I find it very difficult to put a number on it. I'll be honest. I find it very difficult.
Well, I'm asking you to.
I'm going to give it a 7, only for the fact that I'm really excited about the youth players. And yes, I would have liked a marquee signing. I would have liked a big name coming in that wasn't just Dominic Solanke. That's a little bit underwhelming in terms of a marquee signing. But I'm not sad about I think the squad has gotten better. I'm really excited about the youth players, and I think Odegaard and Yang are potentially the solutions to the wing problem. So I can't really be sitting here complaining when those are the facts.
Well, I wish I had the same faith in Odegaard and Yang, to be honest, but I don't. Jack, rate it out of 10.
So I will play along, but I'm with Adam. I find rating windows a futile exercise, because I remember how it's not that long ago, but I remember exactly how excited so many fans were about the Tanguy and Dembele window. You know, Gio comes in, Sessegnon comes in, Tanguy comes in. All the excitement around what was going to happen when we could get Pierre, Tanguy, and GLC all on the pitch at the same time, right? So these were names. They were established players. They were going to come in and
well, not true. Tanguy wasn't an established player.
No, that's fair enough. But he had
up and coming.
Fair enough. He had a lot of people chasing his signature, and we end up paying $55 million for him, right? GLC ended up costing about 42 plus loan fees or something like that. I mean, we spent a lot of money on these guys, and so a lot of people were excited about that.
He's still there, by the way, GLC.
Say again?
He's still there.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware. And so, my thing about windows, you don't know what kind of window you have on your hands, at least for a year. At least. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to get all bent out of shape. Now, if you're saying that the players they bought are crap, that's a different thing. And so I see the comments about Solanke. They think so many people think he's going to be a terrible signing. I'm with Adam. He is cut from central casting to be the perfect type of striker for the system. Now, if he fails, it's on Ange and the recruitment team and Solanke himself. But in terms of available number nines, and I stress the word available number nines, and that is both who was actually wanting to move and two, wanting to move to Tottenham. Because those criteria filter out, unfortunately, a whole lot of people. Osimhen's not coming to Tottenham.
Totally.
You know what? That'll be a sliding doors moment. But I think
Tony is the lingering spectre on the Tottenham transfer.
And why is he not? Why is he still with Brentford?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because he wanted £260,000 a week. Solanke's on about 150 grand a week.
Okay. Well, could it have also anything to do with the manager not wanting a player who only wants to come to the team who can pay him the most money? Because that's not his style. Maybe that's what we need, but that's not the way this manager operates. Is say, okay, I'm not saying I don't believe that Tony would be better. I don't believe
he's going to signings on love for Spurs. Then I'd be playing for Spurs.
No. I'm not talking about love for Spurs. I'm talking about wanting to.
I can put the ball in the net.
Wanting to play for Spurs, wanting to come to Tottenham to play in the system. But I'm saying that I don't see how Tony is so miraculously better than Solanke.
He's a better player. He's a much better player than Solanke.
I would agree with Jack. I think Solanke is better for the system. Tony has a lot of baggage in terms of his behavior, his attitude, and then who's a better fit for the system that we have? Solanke far and away.
I'm not banging the drum for Tony. Had we signed him, I'd be all behind him and I'd support him and I'd be cheering for him. But he's not here and he's not coming. So I just don't see the point. In terms of all the youth players, I am also of the opinion that I see a lot of people hand-wringing about not bringing in a six. We need an established six, right? We need someone like Rodri to come in. We need someone who can patrol the back line and protect our defense. And again, there are not that many of those players out there. I'm not a big fan of Basuma right now. I know Bentancur is limited. I'm a huge fan of Gray. He's probably not maybe ready for a title change. I think what the biggest issue is that people are expecting year 2 under Ange, we're going to win the league. And then they look at who we sign and they don't see enough improvement in the first 11, which is a legitimate issue. But I think that Gray will end up starting. I think Berival will end up starting or playing a lot of minutes. I think Odegaard is going to be a lot better than people realize. He's certainly going to be improvement on some of the wing play that we've got, I hope. We are still a long way. We are still a long way away from a title side, but I think we have enough of a squad and enough of squad depth to make a challenge at the top 4 and go very deep into one of these cup competitions. And if we can do that this year and then get some reinforcements in January, having sent just 20 people out, we have a lot of capacity to sign, and I'm hoping they actually do it. But I would say the window for me at this point is probably I'll give it a incomings, right? You said just incomings, right? I'll give it a 6.
Outgoings is a pretty obvious answer, isn't it?
Outgoings is a 9.
I think we're all happy with the outgoings.
And if you get Reguilon and GLC out, it's a 10. It's the best work we've done for outgoings since I've been following this club.
Yeah. But, well, it is. But as HG quite rightly said in our WhatsApp group, we've pretty much given them a lot of them away.
Which we wouldn't do in the past. We just kept them around.
Well, maybe
it's a lot of wage bills gotten rid of. That's principally the thing in that sense.
Which makes it even more breathtakingly arrogant that we won't spend the £260,000 on Ivan Toney, who would actually improve the first 11. I don't agree that Solanke is this all-singing, dancing striker for our system. Personally, I don't see it. I think he's a pressing forward who's had one. Let's not forget one good season in the Premier League.
But as soon as he was given to a manager who played expansive football and pressed up the field, as opposed to Parker, as opposed to who was at Bournemouth prior, where they were sitting deep and trying to counter, they bought a forward that is prototypical for the system. He may not work, but it was the right buy versus Tony.
He couldn't do it at Liverpool.
I agree.
He couldn't do it.
He was 18 years old. Is he going to get into Mane He's going to crack that. He's going to crack into Salah, Mane.
And yet, at 18, you're relying on Archie Gray to be the linchpin of our six.
I'm not saying he's going to be the linchpin this season. He's definitely someone who's bought for the future. I'm just saying that finding the established six that is ready, who's 24 years old, who can clean up the back line. They end up playing for Man City. They end up playing for Bayern Munich. They right now don't come to Spurs unless we build them ourselves.
Ugarte is going to Manchester United, it looks like. So they do a lot of these boss number sixes. They want the bigger clubs, but I don't think Ange wants to play with a number six anyway. He wants all of the three midfielders to be the wide ranging, can do it all kind of players. Which if that's what he wants, that's what he wants. But in terms of this the Tony Solanke situation, what's the point in springing extra for a player that is no better for our system than Solanke? Like, I'm not saying Solanke is the bee's knees, but it's that the 9 is not the area that we needed the most work. The wings are the areas that we need the most work. And
I agree, and we've completely
we haven't done well there
as well.
No, when Ange says there's more work to be done. What's
he going to do? Fill up the bench with wingers. I mean, we've got Odegaard, we've got Solomon, we've got flipping Johnson, we've got Son. We've got loads of wingers. They're just not good enough because we don't go the extra mile. This is Spurs all over. Let's get the cheap option. Let's get Solanke. Now, you'll tell me he's not the cheap option because you're going to get Tony for 50 million. But Tony wanted £260,000 a week. Solanke's on 150 grand. So over the course of the contract, it is the cheaper option.
Tony's not that much better to have put in that extra money in that position.
Completely. No, I disagree.
If Tony is so damn good, why is he still at Brentford?
Because he wants £260,000.
So no one else thinks he's worth it.
He'd get it somewhere else. He'd get it at Man United, but they haven't.
The window's still open. He will move. The point is,
in the Premier League.
Well, possibly he might go on a free.
We'll go to Chelsea.
Might fancy the big signing on for you.
Chelsea will probably sign him.
Here's the thing, right? If you let me speak, we talk like a big club. We want to be a big club, right? We have the revenue of a big club, but how many players have we got on over £100,000 a week compared to West Ham, Newcastle, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal? A small proportion is the answer. And the reason is we don't pay the wages. Now, you're telling me that players want to go to the big clubs. No, players want to be paid. Top players want to be paid. They want to be paid what they're worth, right? Market rate. We do not pay market rate. This is not negativity. This is fact. There is a correlation between what you pay players and the success on the pitch.
Yeah,
and the
we've
reality
been consistently
is
5th and 6th in wages, and that's where we play. That's where we land on the table.
But the ambition should be higher. And the point is, our revenue is more than Arsenal. It's more than Chelsea, right? It's pushing towards...
It's more than Arsenal, yeah.
It's pushing upwards constantly, right? And this isn't a leave it out rant or anything like that. I'm not that way inclined at all. But the reason the club does not win anything is because we never go the extra mile in the transfer market. That is the reason. We will buy Solanke to appease the fans at 60 million because he is a good player. There's no doubt about that. He's a good player. He scored 19 Premier League goals last season. But the reality is, the truth of success is in the wage bill. It is not in what you pay a player, what you pay for a transfer fee. It is not.
We'll see where Chelsea end up at the end of the season and see if that's true.
but fine. But they've got absolute clowns running the club. And actually, if you look at their history of success under Abramovich, the same rings true. They paid the most. Mm-hmm. You want the best players, you pay the most money, you get success. That's the reality. We won't do that, not with these owners. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, by the way. I'm just saying that's fact. And that's where we're at. And that's why we didn't sign Ivan Toney. And the problem is it lets us down year after year after year. We're not ambitious enough in going after those players. We should have signed Neto. Now, I know you'll tell me Neto's got a terrible injury record, right? I bet you he stays injury-free for Chelsea this season. I'll put money
Why?
down.
Because he's being paid more?
No, because if you actually scrutinise his injury record, he's been very unlucky with a couple of injuries, and there's nothing reoccurring in there. So a couple of his injuries kept him out for a really long time. Or a freak accident like a broken kneecap. How often do you hear that happening to a player? Not very often, right? Kept him out for a year. So those stats are misleading. He would have moved the needle.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
He would have moved the needle.
I really wanted that.
A guy who got relegated with Burnley last season.
Has
It's not
nothing to do with
a
it.
sign of intent, is it? Let's be honest.
No,
And
I'm not disagreeing with
I
that.
hope Odebear sounds like I hope Odebear turns out amazing. I really do. But I've got a feeling he's going to be more like Aaron Lennon, if I'm being perfectly honest. Yeah. We don't go the extra mile. And that's the issue I have in the transfer window. So for that reason, I am rating our transfer business 5 out of 10. Because I think we've improved the starting 11 with one player, Solanke. And that's marginal improvement because actually I rate Richarlison.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's good in the air. I think he works bloody hard. I think he's not fit enough. And that's why Solanke gets the nod, because I think he would have scored Solanke's goals last season if he was fit. I think he got about 12 or something anyway. So
I'll take the Neto bet, and I also don't think that we didn't sign Tony because of money. I really don't. We didn't sign Neto maybe for the money. We didn't something because I heard Nico Williams was dying to come to Tottenham, but we wouldn't meet his wages. That's probably why we didn't sign Nico. But it's not why we didn't sign Tony. I just don't buy. I don't believe that. I believe Ange did not want him.
Yeah, I agree.
Ange has a proven track record of being pretty crap at transfers at Spurs so far. This is the guy who sanctioned a £50 million move for Brennan Johnson. This is the guy who signed Manor Solomon. This is the guy, yes, he's had some successes, Van der Ven, etc. But attacking wise, I genuinely think like Angie's going to be in trouble if we don't beat Everton, because we've got Newcastle away, we've got Arsenal at home, and the pressure from the fan base will be tremendous. No, I'm not saying he should go or anything like that.
I know. I'm just reacting.
Saying,
I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing with you.
I can see where this is heading.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where this is heading.
We won't lose tomorrow, though. I agree with you that if that were to happen, like I said, for me, this is not a must-win game because we lost the Leicester game. This is a must-win game anyway. We need to make up for the Leicester draw by beating a much bigger team than Everton. I don't see us losing tomorrow. If we did, I would completely agree with you, because then there are a run of games that are going to end up being issues for us, and it's going to mean that we're not straight to number one in the table the way we were last season, and that is going to make Ange look bad. After all the new signings come in, we're not improving in our league position, and you can't improve on first. So I
think what we have to remember with Ange, he's not managed at this level before. I love the guy. I want him to succeed. I love the brand of football, but for Ange's football to succeed, you need the very best players. You look at Celtic; it was a one-team league when he was there. He had the best players.
That's the only time that's true, though.
Right, but the other leagues weren't exactly competitive.
But they're competitive with themselves. If you're in a salary cap league and the A League, and you take Brisbane, or you take a team that was never near the top, and you win the league with them, that shows you can coach. Same thing with Yokohama.
I'm not debating. I'm sure he can coach, but the Premier League
can coach.
Different.
Yes, it is
altogether.
And he does need better players.
But he signed Brennan Johnson, who couldn't trap a bag of cement for 50 million. And I'm not getting on his back. He's sure he's a lovely lad.
It's a problem.
It's a fact, right?
No, it's a problem.
He's sanctioned £180,000 a week for Timo Werner, a guy who couldn't hit a barn door. And I want Timo to be a success. But the track record tells me, and from what we saw last season, that tells you that he won't be.
Timo is the biggest concern for me of all of the incomings. I think that Brennan Johnson, again, it's the jury's out. We don't. It's his first season.
Well,
many players come in for their first season at a club and they're nothing like what they end up being. There is a history of that happening, and Johnson does have the minerals. He has the attributes to be able to do some incredible things with Tottenham. He needs to get out of his own way. He needs to stop being so soft. So that's the one thing that Ange maybe didn't factor in in when he was purchasing him. I think he needs to harden him up, and I think that could happen over the years. I mean, he's only 22 now or something, right? So there's a possibility that he will break through his ceiling this season, and I hope that will be the case. But Timo Werner is the really confusing one. There was no need to bring him in on loan. Was absolutely unnecessary. He's not good enough in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net. I think he obviously provided a lot of assists last season, and I think he will do this season as well.
He also says that his team don't practice defending set pieces.
I mean, I think the Werner one is the biggest mystery to most of us because we know, to your point, Johnson, at least you can say there is potential there. We know Werner is where he is. He's not getting better. He's not going to change. He's not going to be a different player. He is what he is. That one is a mystery to a large extent, unless you're saying, okay, what we're just trying to do is stock the club with someone who already knows the system because we've got kids coming in behind him that's going to take his job within 7 months. So we just need a body there. Mm-hmm. And this is the easiest, quickest way to do that, and we can move on because we like Mikey Moore, we like Yang, we like Odebear, we like whatever.
Mikey Moore's not going to be ready for 2-3 years.
I'm just, I mean, I don't
if
think
he
you're wrong. I'm just saying that
we have seen a lot of youth players who are the next big thing. And their career.
He may never play a Premier League. He may never start in the Premier League his entire life because he doesn't make it. That is without question. I don't think that's the case. I think the club believes that he is going to make it, and they didn't want to spend a ton of money on that side, and so it was a bridge. I'm not in favor of it, but it is what it is.
Maybe Paul, but I've never run down the wing and fallen over the ball. So look. I don't want this to be misconstrued. I'm a very positive person. I'm a very positive Spurs fan. I want us to do well. But the data-led side of me goes, this is where we're heading. We're heading for trouble. We've not really improved that starting 11. And for me, that's the issue. We need to improve. And you hit the nail on the head, Adam, when you first nailed it. You nailed it. For Ange's system to be effective, you have to have wide players, wingers, who can create and will put the ball on a plate for Solanke. Yeah. And you need your midfielders to chip in and all the rest of it. And Angie's Neil saying, oh, yes, you have. I don't remember that, Neil. It must have been when you barged me out of the way. You need that system to have fantastic wide players. We haven't bought wide players, but we've spent hundreds of millions of pounds on doing so. And as I earlier referred to, Son is a busted flush in this system. He can't do it anymore. And it's a problem. And, we can bury our heads in the sand. And I could sit here and go, it's all positive. We're going to stuff Everton. The season's going to be a massive success. Yeah, I'm buzzing about all the youth players we've signed. Well, I am. But they're not going to do any damage this season, majority of them. They're a slow burn. It's going to take 2 to 3 years. Do I think Bergvall is going to be an absolute baller? Yes. Did I think Giovanni Lo Celso, on his first couple of appearances, was going to be an absolute baller? Yes. So there's a long way to go. That's all I'm saying.
But we have to give the wingers time. The young lads that we have in, we need to give Johnson time. We haven't even seen Odebear yet. We haven't seen Yang play for us. So we need to allow them the opportunity to thrive doing what Ange brought them in to do. And I agree with Jack. Like we've seen in the past with the teams that Ange has managed before, he knows the players he needs for his system. He gets them in and he gets things done. I do think he has made a rod for his own back this season already by saying. He made a point of saying in the second season when I'm with the club, I win things. I'm like, okay, mate, you are really like you're putting yourself on a pedestal to the degree where you're going to have to live up to that now. You have to. But
I think you've got to give Ange time. I think you've got to give Ange time. Fundamentally, right? The guy, we've backed him. Whether the most ardent Levy outer would have to say we've backed Ange. We bought his players, the people he wants. We spent big money. I think we're up there in the top 3 spenders last 2 seasons. They have backed the manager, and we've churned all those players out. So I fully accept it's going to take 2, 3, 4 windows to get competitive. But the problem I've got is the players we're signing aren't going to get us competitive that quickly. So
you don't know that. You're just assuming.
Yeah.
You don't know that. I mean, because again, how did Kobe Mainu come onto the England squad? Because of injuries at United, they forced him in. They gave him a chance. And guess what? If you're good enough, you're old enough. There's no question that Archie Gray could do the same thing, that Perrival could do the same thing, and they're now contributing and making great situations.
Well, there is a question that they can do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, that's my point is we don't know. We're rating a window on players we have not seen play. Literally not seen play. And I just think it's pointless. I understand everyone's arguments and I understand why they feel that way. And I agree with you. The reason Spurs have not won anything is because of this ownership group. And the reason we're not Everton is because of this ownership group. You get both sides with it, right? And it's frustrating to have this much resources in this game-changing stadium and not see established, ready for the Premier League, ready players to brought in. It's frustrating, but it's the reality that so I'm looking at it and say, okay, who did they sign? What are their attributes and what can they do? And I look and I see there's a lot of upside potential. Just because they're young doesn't mean they're not good enough to move the needle.
Yeah, and I also think that in terms of if we're looking at Collar, you pointed out that it could be a couple of seasons before we see the real Spurs that we want to see going out and winning things. If that's the case, then what was the point of the transfer window? Again, we're thinking about criteria for rating the transfer window. What was this transfer window for? Was it for bringing in players that were going to improve the first 11, or was it to make sure that we had a deep enough squad with a lot of talent so that that's our foundation for going into the next transfer window and into the next season, and then you can go out and just buy 1-2 absolutely fantastic players who come in and lift us massively. Maybe Andrew's like, no, increasing squad depth so that I have players that can come in and that can run and that have enough talent that the where we're at the moment, it doesn't drop with injuries. It doesn't drop when players are getting leggy and I need to sub someone on who's nowhere near as good enough. We can keep the level the same all season long, and then next season you go, okay, now let's go for Eberechi Eze, because he's probably not going to, with all the outgoings at Crystal Palace at the moment, he's probably going to stay there for another season. Maybe that's
but again with Eze, there was a release fee. We didn't want to pay it, and that's why he's still there.
I would challenge that a little bit. Is that the release fee? They wanted 75 or 80% of it in lump sum up front.
And we don't do that.
So I think if they had said no, we'll sell them, and you can pay it over 4 years or 3 years or something along those lines, then it might have been more doable. And I think Crystal Palace is right. If I were Crystal Palace, I'd want all the money up front, particularly after who
I would, but why can't we? So tell me, why can't we pay the money up front? We've got 220 million cash on hand according to the last set of accounts, and our revenue.
I'm not saying we couldn't have.
Right.
I don't have the knowledge to say whether.
Again, Jack, this goes back to my point of we're unwilling, right? Unwilling to go that extra mile. And this is the reason we're not competitive. I'm not making a case for like Levy out and Enoch, a bunch of what's and all the rest of it. But I'm just saying the reason this club is starved of success is that reason.
But you also did say that it could take a couple of seasons for us to get where we need to be. Does it not make sense what I'm saying, that it's possible, Ange, when let's get the squad depth here first, and then we'll push to make the whole team a better team?
Yeah. And by the way, this is Bob on, right? I don't think Vic's one of the best 3 players in the league, by the way, and I don't think Udogie is, but Van der Ven is absolute mustard. And I think what we do have to reflect on and say, actually, we have improved the team in the last couple of years. There's no doubt about that. They've bought better than they have, and there is a degree of paying for past mistakes.
This.
Well, I'm not sure if that's accurate. To be perfect,
I don't know either. I don't have the accounts in front of me. I just wanted to throw it up there. I just don't know that.
The number is high, by the way. The number is high.
It seems a little high, but there's a lot. Okay, John came in as 200 million, not 300 million, so Craig's inflating it. I mean, there was a comment from Next Level earlier about, we should be just happy if we can land in the top half. I don't understand these comments. What? So to say that we are lucky to land in the first half means that we actually got worse.
I need another beer, Jack. You talk for a minute because I need another beer. I'm feeling.
I don't understand this. I joke around in our chat groups about I hope we stay up. We all joke around, but to legitimately think that we are in danger of not finishing the top half with this squad, it seems seems – I don't understand where you're coming. We finished 5th with a worse team last year. We've clearly added some depth to this. We have players who – and then the other thing people don't get is, guess what? Players can get better. Porro, I will take credit for very few things. This is one I will take credit for. I slammed the table and said absolutely the guy could play in a back four as a right back, because defense is about consistency, effort, and training. It's not about technical ability. It's about knowing your responsibilities and being willing to work. And yes, he had a gap potentially this past weekend at Leicester. He and Romero, you can sort out between everyone else who thinks the primary responsibility there was. But, I mean, he clearly is one of our better players, and he has gotten better. You don't think Udogie's going to be better in his second season than his first? You don't think Van de Ven's going to be better and the partnership's going to be better? I am worried about the 6, and I hope Gray or Benicor or Basuma or some combination of them can come up. But I just don't understand how people are like, we finished last year and we're almost 2 points of 4th, and now all of a sudden, because West Ham bought a bunch of people who couldn't get into our first 11 either, they're going to pass us. And I mean, I just don't see this logic. It doesn't make sense that this is a bottom half team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's too many sensationalist fans in the fan base, unfortunately. And once things are going, slightly in a direction that we're not happy with, people will just throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think that there's still a lot of positives to take from this, and from the transfer window so far, and the fact that we have only played one game so far. I mean, there's not. We are very unhappy with the 1-1 draw against Leicester, but it's a sample size of 1. Let's see how we get on after the first 10 games, see where we're at, and then we can make a better assessment of how much we've improved.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with this from King Huddle. We have a squad that could make 4th, but could fall back as far as 8th. Injuries will play a big part. They always do. Udogie, by the way, I think I'm less convinced of him than I was, because I thought the second half of the season he obviously had a bit of injury stuff going on, but he wasn't great, and he wasn't great at Leicester. And I hear the argument he hasn't trained all the rest of it. He's got the components to be a great player, but he ain't a great player yet. And I think we've got a few players in that ilk. Porro, completely agree with you. He has come on absolutely loads.
These are older players, though, as well. Do you know what I mean? So that you have a lot of the players that we're concerned about, they're very young. We forget sometimes, because Udogie's an absolute bulk. Like, the guy has girth, but he's still one of the under 23s. We still have a lot of young players who are not even anywhere near their prime. So I do agree with you. Udogie's been a little bit underwhelming for me as well, especially after the Chelsea game. Completely had a number of wobblers. Where at a certain point in the season, and maybe that knocked the stuffing out of him a little bit. But I think that his age as well, he can go on. He's nowhere near his ceiling, and considering how good he is at his age, I think that I know we say it an awful lot, but the future is bright.
Yeah,
and the rest of the top 6 didn't add. Oh, sorry.
I thought Jamie O'Hara was going to be the next big thing at one point, and he was not. But yeah, sorry, Jack, go on.
To say, Liverpool hasn't added anyone. They have a better squad than we do, but they haven't added anyone. Their people would kill for our window right now. City's added 2 players. Arsenal has definitely improved the strength. They got better in defense when the defense was their best attribute. Aston Villa has gotten better, but they lost 2 big players that they haven't fully replaced.
But they're looking at Sterling, right? They're looking at Sterling, and then possibly getting Gio from us as well.
Yeah. So I mean, I know the other people have gotten around us, gotten better, but that doesn't make us a bottom half team.
No, we're not going to be bottom half team. That's ridiculous. Look, I'm sure there's one thing everyone in the chat can agree on, whether you're an Everton fan, whether you're a Spurs fan, whether you're a podcaster, whether you're a social media guru, and that is, you'll be happy you're not in the lunch queue in the Chelsea training ground, because this was the scene today. They now have officially 476 first team players on the books, and it does take a long time to be served in there. So look, there is one thing we can all be happy with. We're not Chelsea. Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you for joining us this evening.
No, I appreciate you having me on, mate. It's been a good chat. It's my first podcast now of the new season. So I appreciate the conversation. It's been good, very very cordial, and I don't have a channel of my own. Anyone wants to check out what I am doing, I'm a filmmaker. So I'm going to go over to Wild Stag Media, then you can follow me. But thanks for having me on, Colin. It's been great.
I will absolutely do that, and you're always welcome back, mate.
Cheers,
Jack. Thank you. I understand your dinner is ready. So
Dinner is ready.
What's on the table? What's Mrs. Jack made?
It's Mexican tonight.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah. What Mexican?
Just simple beef tacos tonight. Nothing complex. We're going to Mexico next Friday, so this is just a little preview.
My memories of Mexican holidays were mainly lots of drunk, like American people going spring break, yeah. No, don't do that. And look, let's get behind the team. I know that it sounds like I'm not, but I absolutely am. I want us to win more than anyone, trust me, or as much as anyone. So let's get behind the team. Come on, Spurs, we can do this. We could beat Everton. Chew the toffees. We're going to smash them up. 3-1 Spurs. Let's go. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.